People call it the cloud. It sounds light, almost magical, like your photos simply float somewhere in the sky. Your documents, your emails, your videos, always available from anywhere, on any device. The idea feels effortless, almost invisible. But here's something most people never realize. The cloud doesn't actually exist. Not in the sky, not above the earth, not floating anywhere. Every file you've uploaded, every movie you've streamed, every backup you've created, every AI conversation you've ever had exists somewhere very real. Inside buildings, filled with machines, consuming enormous amounts of electricity, producing tremendous heat, operating every second of every day. The cloud isn't a place. It's an illusion, a convenient name for one of the largest engineering achievements in human history. And once you see what's really behind it, you'll never hear the word cloud the same way again.
The word cloud was never meant to describe where your data lives. It was created to simplify something unimaginably complex. Instead of explaining millions of servers, engineers simply drew a cloud, a harmless symbol, a simple icon, something that hid the complexity underneath. And over time, the symbol became the name. But behind that symbol exists a machine unlike anything humanity had ever built. Not one computer, not one building, not even one country, but millions of computers working together, distributed across the planet, acting as one enormous system. When you upload a photo, you are not sending it into the sky. You are sending it to someone else's computer. Protected, replicated, backed up, ready to be delivered whenever you need it again. The cloud feels invisible because someone else manages all of the complexity for you. And that simplicity became one of the most valuable products in the modern economy.
There's an old joke among software engineers. The cloud is simply someone else's computer. It's funny because it's true, but it is also incomplete. The cloud isn't one computer. It isn't one server. It isn't one company. It is an ecosystem, a global infrastructure designed to make computing available as easily as electricity. You don't build your own power plant just to turn on a light bulb. And today, most companies don't build their own data centers just to launch a website. Instead, they connect to the cloud, using only what they need, growing whenever demand increases, shrinking when traffic slows, paying only for what they use. That single idea completely changed how software is built. Before cloud computing, building software looked very different. Every company needed servers, physical servers, purchased in advance, installed manually, maintained continuously. If business grew unexpectedly, new hardware had to be ordered. Weeks could pass before additional capacity arrived. If demand dropped, those expensive machines simply waited, unused, still consuming power, still requiring maintenance. Growth became slow. Expansion became expensive. Innovation became limited by infrastructure. Companies weren't only managing software, they were managing buildings, hardware, cooling systems, electricity, network equipment. The internet was growing rapidly, but the way businesses built technology hadn't caught up yet. something needed to change, and that change would redefine the digital world forever. Then, a different idea emerged. Instead of buying computers, what if companies could simply rent them? Not for years, not for months, only when they needed them. Minutes, hours, days, exactly the amount of computing they required. Nothing more, nothing less. Suddenly, starting a business no longer required massive infrastructure. A small team could launch products used by millions. A startup could compete with global corporations, not because they owned more hardware, but because they could access it instantly. Cloud computing didn't make computers more powerful. It made powerful computers available to everyone. That single shift changed the economics of innovation. Think about electricity. Most people never ask where it comes from. They simply expect it to be available whenever they flip a switch. Cloud computing follows the same philosophy. Businesses no longer think about servers first. They think about ideas. The infrastructure already exists, ready to be used, ready to expand, ready to adopt. Developers request computing power, the same way we request electricity, quietly, instantly, reliably. The cloud transformed computing from a product you own into a service you consume. And once that happened, software development accelerated faster than ever before. Imagine uploading a single photograph. Most people assume one file is stored on one server. Reality is very different. Your file may exist in multiple locations, sometimes across different buildings, sometimes across different cities, sometimes even across different countries. Why? Because hardware eventually fails. Storage devices wear out, power can disappear, networks can break. Cloud infrastructure assumes failure is inevitable. So instead of protecting one copy, it creates many. If one system disappears, another continues serving your data, often without you noticing anything happened. The cloud isn't reliable because nothing ever fails. It's reliable because failure was expected from the beginning. But storing information is only one part of the story, because inside the cloud, almost nothing stays still. Applications move, virtual machines migrate, containers appear and disappear. Resources expand automatically. Traffic shifts across continents. Entire workloads relocate without users ever realizing it. The cloud isn't simply a warehouse filled with computers. It's a living system, continuously reorganizing itself to remain fast, reliable, and available. And that raises an even bigger question. Who coordinates millions of machines without everything descending into chaos? That's where the real intelligence of the cloud begins. Imagine managing 1 million computers, one by one, individually, checking every server, restarting every application, allocating every resource manually. It would be impossible. The cloud solved this problem by introducing another invisible layer, orchestration, a system designed to manage other systems. It decides
where applications should run, when new servers should appear, when unused resources should disappear, how traffic should be distributed, how failures should be isolated, how services should recover, all without waiting for human instructions. The cloud doesn't become intelligent because servers think. It becomes intelligent because millions of decisions are automated. Now imagine a live concert begins. Millions of people open the same application at nearly the same moment. Traffic doesn't increase gradually, it explodes. Years ago, many websites simply crashed. Today, the cloud prepares before the crisis begins. Additional computing resources appear automatically. Traffic spreads across multiple regions. Storage expands. Databases synchronize. Load increases. The infrastructure grows with it. When demand falls, those extra resources quietly disappear. No wasted hardware, no permanent expansion, only the exact capacity required at that exact moment. The cloud isn't just reacting, it's constantly preparing. Cloud computing didn't simply change technology, it changed opportunity. Years ago, building global software required enormous capital. Buildings, servers, engineers, infrastructure. Today, one small team can build products used around the world. Not because technology became easier, because infrastructure became accessible. The cloud democratized computing. It transformed powerful technology from something companies owned into something everyone could access. Ideas became more valuable than hardware. Creativity became more valuable than buildings. Speed became more valuable than ownership. And that shift reshaped the modern digital economy. Perhaps the greatest achievement of the cloud isn't technical at all. It's psychological. It convinced billions of people to stop thinking about computers and start thinking about possibilities. The cloud isn't floating above us. It's standing quietly beside us, inside secure facilities, inside millions of processors, inside an infrastructure most people will never visit. The cloud didn't remove complexity. It simply moved complexity somewhere else, so the rest of the world could keep creating. That is why the cloud became invisible, not because it disappeared, but because it became dependable. Building modern software rarely begins from zero. Teams focus on solving new problems, not rebuilding common foundations. Scalable dashboards, authentication systems, responsive interfaces, admin panels, automation modules, cloud-ready architecture. These components allow developers to spend more time innovating and less time repeating work. If you're curious about the kinds of production-ready resources used across today's software industry, you'll find a curated collection in the description below. The next time someone says, "It's in the cloud," you'll know what that really means. Not magic, not the sky, but millions of machines working together. Protecting information, delivering applications, powering businesses, supporting artificial intelligence, and quietly keeping the modern internet alive. In our next episode, we'll step inside the buildings where all of this actually happens. the facilities that never sleep, the machines that never stop, the places where the cloud becomes physical. This is Nexnet, where invisible systems become visible. See you inside the data center.